In a video I recently made, I said, if everybody likes you, then you're doing something wrong. If you haven't watched that video, I want you to watch it. It talks about the difference between being a good guy versus being a kind man. So I talked about how if everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. Because ultimately, if everybody thinks you're a nice guy, then that means people don't actually respect you. You can't be nice all the time. You're gonna make some difficult decisions in your life and say some direct and honest things that are going to rub people the wrong way. They're not going to agree with some of your decisions, even though, especially being a man, being decisive is being part of masculinity, right? So I wanted to do a sequel, a follow-up to that video. So we're actually going to talk about sex, drugs, and Cocoa Puffs. You ever heard of this book by Chuck Klosterman? We're going to turn to page 152. And I want to look specifically, as he's talking about Star Wars, comparing Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. And here's what he says on page 152. Quote, "But Solo's brand of cool is something you can't understand until you're old enough to realize that being an arrogant jerk is an attractive male quality." End quote. That is worth camping out on. That's worth exploring. Let's look at that one more time when he says, Han Solo's brand of cool is something you can't understand until you're old enough to realize that being an arrogant jerk is an attractive male quality. Being an arrogant jerk is an attractive male quality. And I know that for certain people hearing that, they're like, no. Yeah, men are jerks. And we got enough men that are jerks. And no, I disagree with that. Well, I absolutely know that it's true because I've lived through it by being the nice guy and evolving into from Luke Skywalker to Han Solo. I've become that person in my age, and that's what he says in this book and in that quote, that you evolve into, that you realize ultimately that's what society finds value in masculinity. A man who is decisive, a man who is confident. It's funny because, I'm going to throw this book down, by the way, so when you hear, that's what it was. There, okay? No special effects here, by the way. So, I obviously am a YouTuber. I'm reaching for 1,000 subscribers. I'm almost there. And I've grown from a little over 100 to almost 1,000 in about a year. And something I've realized in that is the more videos that I make, the more confident I am in what I speak about. And ultimately, I suppose it's safe to say that I become a different character when I'm in front of the camera. When I know that I'm talking to people about a certain subject, perhaps I speak with more authority and direction and even personality than if I'm just in the real world. It's possible. Because when you're in front of a camera, you need to be a little bit more animated to catch people's attention. And I think what that does is it heightens my sense of confidence. Because I know that people follow confidence. People respect confidence. People follow passion. So it's very important to me that I'm in charge when I'm talking about what I'm talking about. At the same time, always knowing that I could be wrong about what I'm talking about. And that's fine. I don't mind being wrong. As someone who is a decisive and masculine man, I have to assume I'm wrong at least half the time. Otherwise, I'm a jerk. I'm an idiot. Because anyone who thinks they're right all the time, you're going to be wrong sometimes, you know? And it's like that saying, was it from Big Bang Theory, where he says, well, don't you think if I were wrong, I'd know it? See, I'm never going to be that guy. I'm always open-minded to the fact that I could be wrong. But something that popped up in the comments feed, or I probably started it, but I acknowledged to my audience this week and my subscribers, I said, I'm beginning to understand that who I am in front of this camera, and ultimately, if this is even the slightest exaggeration of who I am in real life, that ultimately I have a likable arrogance about me. A likable arrogance. And a comment from a subscriber quickly backed that up and said, yeah, that's true. But they didn't mean it in a bad way. They acknowledged it as if it were a good thing. I'm telling you, I've learned so much more about life now that I've embraced this. Just like the book says, you get old enough to realize that. You get old enough to where you realize you're in control of your own emotions, and other people can't control your emotions unless you give them that authority. So you get old enough and you're thinking, you know what? I've got enough going on in my life. I've got enough responsibilities. I'm married. I've got kids. I don't have time for people to hurt my feelings. They can only hurt my feelings if I let them, right? So once you get through that and you graduate through that, then you get to likable, arrogant guy. Because, hey, and that's the thing, people are attracted to that. Just before I made this video, I ran upstairs, I grabbed this book, and I told my wife what I'm making the video about. And I read her that quote. And she instantly agreed. She's like, yeah, that's, people like confident men. Confidence is an attractive trait, absolutely. And even at the risk of seeming arrogant, the fact that you're decisive, even if people don't agree with your decision, that's more respected than simply being nice and passive. Passive is a bad thing. Being proactive is a good thing. It's really, passive is a bad thing. It's not good to go through life, especially as a man. Just, I'm okay with whatever you want. Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't care. Where do you want to go? Wrong. As a man, that will not get you far in life. Instead, you tell the person where it's going to be that you suggest. And if they have something else, you instantly agree with the thing that they want. Because then you find out what they really want to begin with. But you already have a plan in place. And then if they don't want that, fine. Easily go the other way. Let the other person take the lead from that point. But ultimately, you didn't leave it open-ended. You had a starting point. And you could call that being an arrogant jerk. If you end up ever watching any more of my videos, you're probably going to see what I mean by that. It's not that an arrogant jerk, but a likable arrogance is really the best way to word it. A likable arrogance. Not everyone who is arrogant is a jerk. There's a lot of people who appear to be slightly arrogant, and you can tolerate it and you kind of enjoy it because at least you know what to expect. You know what you're getting yourself into. So I've absolutely embrace being likably arrogant, but not a jerk. I'm not a nice guy. I'm a kind man. Because again, a nice guy is passive and wants to please people. And I don't care about pleasing everybody. I don't need to please everybody anymore. I'm well past that. And it wasn't that I used to care what people think about me and I wanted to be cool. My problem was always I wanted them to think that I was a nice guy, and that made me weak. I'm not weak anymore. Granted, I'm far from perfect. I'm very aware of that, and I'm wrong at least half the time. But I'm not passive. I'm not trying to make people think that I'm the nice guy. It's okay if people don't like me. It's okay if people don't agree with my strategies or my opinions, which I'm not quick to talk about my opinions a lot anyway, because I've realized that people who talk about their opinions a lot and are very loud and vocal about that, especially in social media, are people who, it's actually a sign of a lack of confidence when you're that eager to talk about personal opinions all the time. Now, it's one thing for me to teach a person something in a video or even present a theory to them, but I'm not eager to convert anybody to my way of thinking. If somebody watches one of my videos and at the end doesn't agree and even tells me, you know who I'm going to quote? Tommy Lee Jones. I don't care. My personal life, my emotions are not affected by people disagreeing with me, especially my decisions. But the fact is, I'm making a decision. I'm being direct. I'm being honest. I'm being confident. And just because of that, ultimately, there are going to be people who say that I'm a little bit arrogant. And at this point in life, I'm going to go ahead and take that as a compliment, because I'm not trying to make everybody happy. I'm trying to be someone that people ultimately respect, not necessarily agree with, but someone who people respect because they know that I'm decisive, but I'm also kind at the same time. But I'm not passive. I'm kind, but I'm not the nice guy. I'm not the pushover. Ultimately, people respect a little bit of likable arrogance. It's just how life is.